History of the English language. English has been around for about 1500 years. It started in the 5th century, but it was nothing like we see it today. Most evidence seems to suggest that over 80% of the original language was lost since the Anglo-Saxons came to Great Britain from what we now know as Western Germany. Early English. English as a language began in the 400s, coming from the Ingvaeonic languages commonly known as North Sea Germanic. Ingvaeonic languages came from the largest language family in the world, Indo-European. Later, from around the year 750 to the year 1050, Vikings originating from Scandinavia raided the cities of the Anglo-Saxons now living on the island and established their own cities. This eventually resulted in cultural exchanges between these people, and the language picked up new words we still use today, such as Thursday and slaughter. Christian influences also introduced an amount of loanwords from Latin and Greek. Then the Norman invasion of England occurred and jump-started the evolution towards Middle English. Middle English. In about the 12th century, the period of Middle English began. During this period, the language was dominated by Norman French influences. The French and Normans had control over courts and governments, and as such, English picked up many French loanwords, like country and travel. Over time, English became a more accepted language for nobles and priests to use, and eventually found itself being used as common as Latin and French. In the 1300s, King Edward III made the language official in Parliament and court. At the same time, English literature began to resurface. By the 15th century, official documents in England were almost always made in English. The language during this time evolved to change the plural marker of nouns from en to s, dropped a letter named thorn, which made the same sound th does today, and also dropped grammatical gender, thus making it more distinct from many other Western European languages. Modern English. Early modern English started in the 1400s and had a change in many significant aspects of the language, such as grammar and pronunciation. It was marked by the English Renaissance. Mainly the Great Vowel Shift, which involved the change in pronunciation of many long vowels, as well as change in pronunciation of some consonants, including many of the silent letters we see today. There was also a more standardized way of writing, as printing had become widespread and capitalization at the start of names and sentences became the norm. Near the late 1500s, William Shakespeare began writing his literary works, which introduced vocabulary and expressions from other languages and solidified previous changes with his plays. The English language continued to see development until the 18th century, in which the British colonization began to develop new dialects of the language, such as American and African dialects. This colonialism also introduced new words, including shampoo and candy. Industrialization and new discoveries also created the need for new words in English, which borrowed many Greek and Latin roots, such as haploid and electricity. Ever since technology has globalized and solidified the language via the internet, the English language continues to develop in new ways. Maybe in a couple hundred years, people will look at the language today like we look at it back when it started.